special guest today from Caramel and Chocolate, and we're going to be getting into a bit of conversation about how they do what they do in Wellington. You may not have heard about them before, but first of all, I would really like to introduce Mary.
Hi.
And you're one half of the female event planning team, Caramel and Chocolate.
Yes.
Yeah, so tell us all about that.
Well, Caramel and Chocolate, we started pre-COVID. It's me, Mary, I'm the caramel, and then my partner, Kalia, who's the chocolate. She can't be here today because she's in Waiheke Island.
Yeah.
So we both are like best friends, so we know each other since like almost 4 years now.
Okay.
I met her shortly after I moved to Wellington, and so she has her own meetup, and I just joined her meetup, and we were just like throwing events for the meetup, and we were just having nights out with like internationals who are new to town, and it was always like the usual night in Courtney Place, and we couldn't really find anything we like, just like good music, dancing, not just like getting drunk and hook up with someone. And we were just thinking like, they're not really the kind of parties for grown-ups in Wellington. So how about we do our own parties? Because we already have, her meetup that has like about 500 members.
Wow.
And so we were just thinking, just like, create like a event business that focuses on like throwing event for, we say, the grown and sexy.
Nice.
It's like adults.
I like it.
Yeah.
So like, what when you say grown and sexy, what do you think is your catch age?
You must be this sexy to enter. Like,
how grown do you have to
How
be?
grown do we have to be?
So we say our age range is basically mostly end of 20 up. So it can be anything. We have people who are in their 50s and still like ready to rumble. Like.
That's really interesting, because like what I've noticed about coming back to Wellington is, especially within the diaspora community, the African diaspora community, is that the women that are over 40 don't make the most of their evenings out. Like they get caught in the marriages, they stay at home. There's that cultural and social expectancy that they're not supposed to be out there. They're supposed to be at home with their grown-ass children. And I think it's really good to have something that women can come out to at any age and feel really comfortable. Was that sort of something you were thinking about at that time, or are you still like thinking about like, well, I'm 35 or 33 or in my 30s, and it's really just about the young people?
It's an interesting point. It's definitely not just about the young people. We like specifically wanted for like more like the older ones as well, because people don't go out, because I feel like the party scene in Wellington has like the reputation of being like really young, and people just get drunk, and like,
it's all hookup culture.
It's all hook up, and that's not attractive. And so if you're like older and you say, I'm still going out, everyone questions you like, why? Like,
why would you want to dance?
Why would you do that?
Why be around other humans?
Exactly. Like, why would you want to be at
Why are you isolated in your house by yourself and dying alone? God.
Yeah, it's like, don't you feel old, like at Courtney Place? And so you feel judged, and we just want to create parties where no matter who you are, no matter how old you are, you don't feel judged. It's just for people who just, like to dance, like to socialize, mingle, meet new people, good music, good vibes, and there's no judgment. Like, you can be whoever you want to be. And it's about creating like a good time for everyone. And that was like the purpose of it. And that's like basically the mission of our events.
Wow, I'm really impressed with that. And I always said that women make far better event organisers.
We do.
We think about those things. I don't think guys think about those things. Like, guys are just kind of going, how are we going to get all the young sexy girls out? And and that's it. They're not thinking.
Y'all need to start a kayaking group together. Seriously, men need to be socializing with men over something other than the big P.
Absolutely. No, exactly. It's just like our parties, just like the kind of parties we throw, like the name already tells you, this is like for someone who's there to just like, meet new people as well. Because I feel in Wellington, it's also like, you leave the house with your group of people and you stay with them. You don't really meet new people along the way. That's something we want to break. We just want to open people's horizon and be like, look, come to a party. We were like a family. Like you can talk to anybody. It doesn't matter if you've met the person before or not. And like I feel like Kaylee and I, as the organizers, we're always at the events, which is not always the case for like event planners to actually be there at the venue. But we're there just to facilitate that. We like really social, extrovert, open, you know, women, and we just make everyone feel welcome. We talk to everyone. We introduce people to each other if we feel like, hey, you should meet that person. You seem to be like probably getting along well. So like over the time, even like long-term friendships come out of it. And how many times can you say that at a night out at Courtney Place? It's like, oh, I met my best friend there. Like, I don't know. That usually don't happen because you don't really talk to people. So it's also like an environment that encourages like networking, like with like-minded people. It's very international, like people coming from all types of background, countries. And then there's like the part where we just want to create like an environment where people feel comfortable to dance without being judged or feeling like stupid or embarrassed to like, you know, express themselves. So we work with different kind of DJs. Recently we discovered DJ Dozen. I think you know him.
DJ Dozen.
So we actually met him like, cause he opened like the shop on Taranaki Street. It's like an African shop, and we were like, oh my god, an African shop in Wellington, like let's check it out. And he was there. He invited us to a fashion show. And then we saw him like DJing at the fashion show, and we just asked, hey, like you do that? How about we like work together? And he's also like the most wonderful person. Like he's really good as a DJ and as an MC. And at our last Afrobeats event, he just created like this amazing atmosphere for everyone.
I think he was DJing last night as well.
I know, he did like an Afrobeats night last night. So he's like getting out there, and we're like really happy that we found him, cause he takes on song requests, so that's also something we want to, you know, make sure that people also listen to their favorite songs. And he really took that on. He played like all the song requests, which usually if you go to the DJ, they never play it.
They usually got their playlist and they got to stick with it.
You get this thing kind of almost like, in a way, like classic African culture, like if you're speaking historically, we do dance circles. That is how we connect and we tribalize through song and dance. And you get this thing as well where I almost feel like a DJ is our new shaman. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know if anybody else's experience that, right? Like the DJ is the new shaman, and he connects and he checks the vibe, and he really just connects everybody
Bring
back
people
together.
on the dance floor.
Right? Like a good DJ is like rocking like, you know, like, oh, it's 1 part music and like 10 parts like
just motivating people.
Yeah, like absolutely just vibe lifting and like shamanic healing across the field.
Well, we've got a few DJs on tap around Wellington, so it'd be really good to know if you're going to keep doing events, and we can link you up with them as well.
Absolutely. I mean, now it has been a bit challenging with COVID and the red light system, because, you know, if you have to be seated, it's like a bit tricky.
Why go out?
Exactly.
That's what I was.
And people were a bit scared to just like go to like bigger events and gatherings, but now that we're back in Orange, we just want to kickstart it straight away. So our next event is actually on the 29th of April. It's like an Afrobeats night. And DJ Dosen will be there, and it's at the Welsh Dragon Bar.
Oh, I love that bar.
Yes.
that bar used to be a place where they had the Zimbabwean parties back in the 90s.
Oh, wow, nice.
And they were actually really good. You know, as long as the DJ stayed sober, which sometimes they didn't.
That's not very common in Wellington now.
What's that?
The DJ, so the DJ staying sober? Are you joking me in Wellington?
Oh, no, like...
Has that ever happened before?
I don't know. Like, I always thought the DJs in the lab were pretty... Back in the 90s, Courtney Place was very family friendly. We had this conversation last week. But, I don't know, something happened in the 2000s and it just became... The first time I went out here, I just saw people like trying to step you out as you're walking down the street, and I'm like, what's going on? You know, like
it seems
this
like
is
an
really
flow,
odd.
Like like it's so like the high tide, low tide of family friendliness of like Wellington.
Yeah, I don't think it would ever go back to what it was in the 90s, and I don't know whether that's because of the prevalence of meth
Yeah. Oh,
in the city,
that could
because
be it.
that makes people act a little bit agitated.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
understand.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was, and I'm really glad that there's an event planner that's actually thinking about this, because I know within African culture, sometimes they have things like age range mates. So, you know, like the youngies don't hang out with the older ones and all this sort of stuff. So they have their separate parties that they have, and you know, the older ones are made to feel sort of like, well, we're here, but we can't really get involved because, you know, we're the older people.
I
And
don't know.
I really didn't like that sort of ageism, because when we back in the 90s, it was very often when my son hit 18 that I'd be walking down the street and I'd meet his school friends, and they'd go, oh, we're going to see you at the lab later, auntie, and I'm like, yeah, see you there, you're going to come to our club, and they're like, no, that's our club now, but you know, and I'm like, you're just taking over from where we're leaving off, you know what I mean?
Have you ever experienced though, like there's a generation of like older ex-gens who are just like so good at throwing block parties and just throwing down right where the heck they sit? Like it's almost like they're the boombox generation. You know what I mean? Like our generation were all headsets.
Yeah.
Your generation, you were about boomboxes. You would just start a party right there because you fucking could.
Oh, where are those parties?
Yeah, right?
No.
Like that was my experience. Like, you know,
Like I really love the dance circles.
yeah.
People start the dance circles, and they did that at when we did the dashiki night. They did the dance circle.
We had that at our last Afrobeats event.
Yeah, the dance circle?
Yeah. And everyone went in and did like a little, you know, show off, and then
Yeah.
yeah.
Because that's like when I think back to the parties before, you know, and during the 90s when we had Afro parties, we always did a line. Like that was just part and parcel of it.
Well, your generation is, and Gen X is better at throwing down. I'm sorry, you just
Yeah,
like when it comes to starting a party just at random, like.
But it's like they're all
at it.
disappearing. Like they're all getting sunk into their marriages and thinking like, this is all there is that I can do now. I gotta stay in the kitchen, change to the table. Like nah.
No,
Get
you
out
gotta get
there
out
and
once
enjoy
in a
yourself.
while. Yeah.
Especially a woman, because it's not stop. I notice that the men don't stop going out
That's
regardless
true.
of their age.
They do. They
But the women stay at home, and I think the women need to be getting out more. Yes, I'm said that I have started something in Wellington, so there may be a
our
revolution.
parties are for everyone. The moms, you know, like grandmas. I don't care. Like if you down to party, you're welcome in our venues. And so these events are literally really inclusive. We don't have like an age limit or anything, and you know, we always think about what new we can do. I mean, like Kalia is from Jamaican background, so she loves reggae dancehall. I also love like dancehall, Afrobeats, and it's like really something that I feel there's not a lot of offer in Wellington specifically. I mean, there's a huge Latin community and they have their Latin parties, but there's not a lot of like for the Afrobeats and the dancehall, and it's really like getting like international recognition, like that type of music at the moment.
Well, it should. It's good.
So it's brilliant. I love it since ever, and I just want to, you know, bring it to Wellington. And throw these kind of parties and make it like a more regular thing.
I think that sounds good. Do you have anything else to say on that, Nani?
Oh, about dancehall Afrobeats, a lot less than I do about the dating topic that I'm very excited to hear about. I mean, like, dating and being out on Cuba Street is already a nightmarish equation. Like, already. Like, that's just the most nightmarish equation there is. But if you throw in a sick party and I'm having a good time and somebody's quite handsome and they happen to be there, that could
we did a +1 party that was a singles event. It was very successful. We had a live band playing and we did all these like single games. Like me and Kaya, we were all over the place playing games with people to get them to know each other. We had prizes like dinner for 2 or a bottle of Moët for like if you match up and you feel like you wanted to continue. And there's actually like I think a couple of people like started dating after. So I felt like it was a success. It was a success.
So
that's beautiful.
Yeah, because everybody's out there looking for love.
It is.
You know.
And you know, I feel like the whole dating app scene, I mean, that's a struggle.
Oh my god.
It's a struggle.
That's
like,
a whole podcast by itself. Like,
I know.
everything by itself.
So we were just like, let's, motivate people to meet in real life again.
Yes.
Like, because then you can see right away if there's a connection. Other than going on a blind date, you don't even know what to expect.
Yeah. And I tell you, ex-gens wouldn't do that.
No.
It's like getting on the road and going hitchhiking. No, no, we might have done it in the 70s, but we're not doing it today.
Yeah, and we had all kind of age range. I mean, we had people like who were in their 40s, divorced, already had kids, or we had like, singles who were like end of 20 in their 30s. So it was very mixed, and we're really keen to do another one of those parties again. So feel like there's a demand.
Yeah.
I'm a single lady.
Yeah. Have you used the dating apps at all?
Oh yes. I mean, nowadays you just you try. It's like really hard to meet people. Otherwise, especially during COVID times where you couldn't even go out. I was just like, okay, signing up for Bumble.
Yeah.
But
that's a new one. I've never heard of Bumble.
Oh no, really?
What? You have never heard of Bumble?
Yeah. Like Bumble was the only one I half approved of. Like I tried Tinder for like literally 3 days.
Oh my god.
Got a whole bunch of messages from people I was not interested in.
No.
Deleted it instantly. But Bumble, because they kind of like, are you looking for really a friend, either gender? And I'm like, no, actually I am. I'm kind of like just trying to reach out and make people I want to meet people, go on a coffee date, and I might actually want to know about you and your past and your interests.
Yeah.
Like this might actually want to end there, but like still be a thing. So Bumble's pretty good.
I mean, you can say on Bumble what you're looking for
Yes.
as well, which makes it easier if you're just looking for something like not serious, or if someone wants a serious relationship, you can already filter that out. I feel like that's missing on Tinder.
Yeah.
Where you always end up with like people who just want to have like a fling or
And now they've got that terrible Tinder story that's on Netflix.
The Tinder swindler.
The Tinder swindler.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, if you weren't into Tinder before, you definitely not want to touch it now.
What's the Tinder?
The Tinder swindler, he basically scammed women. So he pretended to be this rich, wealthy man.
Oh yeah, one of those.
And so he started dating women, and basically his wealth was financed by like scamming women into giving him money. And then all of a sudden he's like, I'm from a wealthy family that deals with diamonds.
Yeah.
And we have like a business deal that gone wrong, and now I have enemies and I can't reach my credit cards. Can you like help me out? And that's how he got money from the women, because they were taking
it was like the last woman he dated was funding the next woman.
Exactly. So the women saw that he was wealthy. So they believed him, and all of a sudden, I also felt like they were a little bit, like blended by the money he had. Because after 3 months, he was talking about marriage, moving in, and all of that. And so he was faking like robberies, like him being beaten up and all of that, showing it to the women.
Okay,
it was really full on.
Like, see, the thing is, I'm like, okay, this was clearly not about the money for him. He was enjoying himself.
He was I feel like he was a psycho.
Like beyond that, like it's like somebody will just like beat you up and whatever, but like this guy's having fun with elaborate Rube Goldberg machine kind of
thing. He had a whole team behind him. Supporting him.
Oh my god.
Swindling women. So they were the ones that were actually beating him up, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
And setting up the thing so
probably
it looked
getting
like
commission or something.
Yeah. Wow, you would have to be a special kind of guy.
I mean, the energy that takes. Oh my god.
Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? That's exactly what I was thinking. I was like, I don't barely have the energy to get up before 8 a.m. and 8, 9 a.m. in the morning. And yet this guy is out here like living his dream.
Exactly.
But I mean, the New Zealand version would be doing all that and just having a basic 9 to 5.
Yeah, right? Right, exactly.
They still do all that crazy stuff.
Yeah.
I've seen that before. Not to me personally, but I've seen it happen.
I think there are a lot of fake profiles. I mean, you get catfish a lot on the dating apps. Like, I've been catfished in the past.
Really?
Like, a man was pretending to be like 20 years younger.
Wow.
And I met up, and he was like 50 years old and didn't look at all like on the pictures. And I'm like, wait a minute, let me look on your profile. And he was like, well, the thing is, I like to date young women, but usually they don't really respond to my profile. And I'm like,
yeah.
So you know what?
I'm really superficial and I can't handle women my own age, but I'm expecting the young women not to be really superficial and date me despite my age.
Yeah, I know. And I'm like, I can't believe I put on makeup for this. I was so mad.
Where did this happen? Was this in New Zealand?
That was in Wellington.
That was in Wellington. Yeah, that would be about right. That would be
That
about
was
right.
in Wellington.
That's what I mean, and he probably has no money too.
Probably, like,
Yeah.
it's just his age.
I don't like dating women my own age, but I like younger women. That's just a preference, guys.
Yeah.
Guys, it's just a preference.
I know. He was like, well, I have a fun personality, so if you get to know me, you will look past my age. I'm like, I'm not gonna look past your lies.
Yeah,
So
this book gets really good in like chapter 70. Like you just gotta struggle through the first 68 chapters,
I know. So I feel like there's so many dating stories from the dating apps. What like women experience maybe is crazy.
Yeah.
So I prefer meeting men in real life. It's just like I feel like New Zealand is not a very flirtatious country where like people flirt a lot.
No, it's not. Actually,
no.
what was normal was that you would go out with your high school sweetheart.
Yes.
We didn't have a dating scene.
No.
Like dating is actually a new thing.
You gotta get drunk and awkward flirt. Like
Yeah.
that's the New Zealand culture.
Yeah. And so
Yeah.
like you probably end up with somebody who lived down the street from you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I
Or
Then
like
you meet in
you,
uni
you
or
have a one night stand and then that's your boyfriend.
Yeah.
Yes, I heard that
Right.
so many times.
And so like when people started introducing the dating culture here, I first started hearing about it in the 90s and I was like, we don't have a dating culture.
No,
There's no
yeah.
such thing.
Yeah.
That blows my mind because
Yeah.
like dating is all you do. Like where I'm from,
Yeah.
it's like you take someone out on a proper date and you go on a couple of dates to get to know each other, like, and then it
Yeah.
develops. But this being drunk on a party night and ending up in somebody's bed and then be like, well, now I'm here. Let's just like,
Let's just continue. Let's just continue
that
the
is such a
relationship.
weird concept to me. Like,
Yeah, and so it was weird sort of like thinking about it because I spent a lot of time thinking exactly about that
Yeah.
in my 20s and
Yeah.
30s and thinking, it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Like we don't have that. It's like the people I knew that got together had known each other for decades.
Yeah.
Or they'd gone,
Yeah.
they lived in the same neighborhood,
Yeah.
or they were from the same ethnic group
Yeah.
who all socialized together at church.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It wasn't, and so of course they're going to get married
yeah.
because they were hanging out together all these years.
So I have a question, which is like, okay, you say it didn't exist, but does it even? Because that's not like what I mean is like statistically speaking, that doesn't work. Like it has no longevity, so maybe it just doesn't. And Wellington the illusion of
This
dating.
is New Zealand in general.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. Like
Yeah.
perhaps what we have is the illusion of dating leading to long-term relationships, but it never has and never will.
I don't know. Like I know people that have been married for 50-something years,
Yeah.
but that doesn't mean they've had a good marriage.
Yeah.
Some of them just bit their bottom lip and stuck with it. Like
We're used to each other now.
Yeah, I mean, we had in New Zealand in the 80s, we had an incredibly violent culture when
Yeah,
it
that's
came to
true.
relationships
That's
and stuff. We
absolutely
were
true.
one of the worst in the world.
Still
Yeah.
are actually.
So
Sorry.
we are. So basically, I used to hear when I was in my 20s that if a man beat you, it's because he loved you.
Oh
And
my
he was
God.
jealous of you. Like
Oh
that
my
was
God.
that
How
was
horrible is that?
yeah,
How's
And that was the
that
norm.
that was the standard operating
Yeah.
procedure.
And
You
it's
know what I
like it's not true, but there's like a certain amount of like if he stuck around to be mad at you, like was kind of the implication, I think. Like,
Yeah.
he would have just left you for somebody younger if he didn't really
Yeah.
love you.
Yeah, the fact that he stuck around, got
Yeah.
angry with you, and slapped you around a bit
Yeah.
meant that he was actually really cared about you. And I heard this so much
Yeah.
in the circles that I was in, and nearly everybody I knew was going through domestic violence as a
Yeah.
norm. As a
Yeah.
norm.
Y'all need to
So-
just learn BDSM. Calm down.
But like
Yeah.
but then when you think about like that movie, I think it's the
safe
piano.
Yeah, safe words.
Have you seen that movie? I think it's called The Piano. I'm not too sure. But
Oh
it was,
yeah.
you know, like when the wives came over
Yeah.
and they just go
Yeah.
down to the wharf and they pick a wife, throw her over the shoulder, and wander
Yeah.
off, and that's your
Wow.
wife now.
Yeah.
That was New Zealand dating culture.
Wow.
Oh, okay. So it's not actually that bad now. I realize. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, like, I think I always thought that introducing something like a dating culture would be a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think it's
definitely.
more empowering for women in a way.
I have some mixed feelings about that because I actually do think this generation is way too focused on the dating bit and has no concept for what they actually want. What they, you know, they're all chasing, and then they got it in their hands like, what do I do now? I'm like,
it's not really a long-term kind of thinking. They don't have a long-term plan.
Right.
They live in, you know, it's all living in the moment, but you don't really look beyond.
I think that for all the so I am also single ? Like I'm in a situationship. I like mini black women. I'm in a situationship. But like I'm looking for something less COVID flavored situationship and more long term and firm.
Yeah.
And I have this like clear list of all these things I want. They're not impossible, but here we are in New Zealand in COVID, and I've got like I haven't lost hope of having a partner. No, I have enough of that action.
Yeah.
I've lost like hope of my unicorn. I have this dream.
Oh, finding the ideal.
You know, I'm not looking for a boyfriend. Fuck a boyfriend. Everybody can find one of those. Like, I'm looking for an ideal.
Yeah.
Like, and
I mean, I think that's also the thing once you like not in your 20s anymore.
Yes.
Like, it's like in my 20s, like I met men where I already knew like, that might not be a match, but screw it, you know, like just be adventurous. But now I'm in my 30s and you know exactly what you want.
You do.
And we know exactly what we want.
Yes.
Especially, I feel like, you know, as a woman of color dating in New Zealand is very frustrated. Because I feel like, you know, we're very strong and we have our opinions and we're not scared of, you know, saying them out loud. I feel like a lot of, that's not part of the Kiwi culture.
Yeah.
It's very like anti-confrontational and avoiding like discussions and very like sweet talking.
Yeah.
You know, keep it with small talk.
Having to adapt to that has been nightmarish.
And that's my problem. I cannot adapt to that.
It's like, I mean, I'm
always being told to lower your voice.
Oh my god. So many times. Why are you so loud? Like,
Oh, I get the opposite. See, like, if I'm really mad, I won't speak. I'm one of those. I'm an eyeballs person. My eyes are as loud as I need to
rolling
be.
eyes in the back of your head.
if I, like, you know I'm still in it and I still love you because I'm like, baby. But like, the minute I act like when it's a real argument, I'm not talking. You better say the right things and then we can have a conversation.
Yeah. I mean, it's really tricky. I feel like it gets harder and harder the older you get because, like I said, you know what you want.
You do.
So you look for that. You don't compromise anymore. It's
You
like,
don't. Like,
I don't have time to waste
I
on
don't have
someone.
time to waste. I got like these eggs are ticking, okay? You know, the egg timer, I can hear it. You know, like I have like I want to have like 1 to at least 2 more kids, and I got like 5 years. I got strategically planned this like a space shuttle launch.
I feel like me and Kaya need to sit down and plan a singles night.
They do. Yes.
You know,
please
definitely. That's gonna be next on our list,
Singles
especially
night.
during the winter where everyone
Singles.
is like.
Singles, sorry.
Singles nights,
Yeah.
Another singles night, like a party for singles, just to meet other, no pressure, and I feel like for the winter that's perfect, because winters here are like depressing, so
they're so depressing, oh my god. Like I sometimes get this thing, it's like, no, it's not singles night, it's like a yaya witch circle where we all manifest our man, hold each other's hands and shit.
I mean, that's what I like about our
manifesting it out of dirt. There's nothing here.
You know, what I liked about our first singles event, and I think that's why we got a lot of good feedback, was that it wasn't really like, you didn't feel like it was a singles event. There was like so much going on and it felt like really chilled atmosphere. It was almost like naturally talking to people and be like, okay, I know you're single. So the thing if you go out and you meet people, you never really know like if a guy that you fancy, like is that person actually single or not. So at that party you knew like the people were there.
They're single.
Exactly. So you just talk and you know, there's no strings attached. It's very like
because that was
relaxed.
something I noticed when I came back and I went to a few clubs when I first came back in 2015. And I'm like, why are all these married men out here? Please get out of the way. So we can see where the single people are behind you.
That's
You've just taken up all the oxygen now.
Yeah.
And the women are staying home. This is what does my head in. Like, ladies, get your dancing shoes on. You want to be at this thing next week.
I wonder wonder if it's not that there's nothing out there, but that really good men are just too tired from a good day's work at a job he's trying to get like enough of a promotion at to be able to afford the woman he wants. Because I have actually experienced that. Like, I myself am not typically a party goer, and I'm quite an introvert.
Yeah.
And sometimes I meet other introverts who are like, oh, I couldn't. I physically would freak out if I was on a dance club, like on a dance floor.
Yeah.
But then you meet these men, and it's like the best ones really are just hiding. But you just gotta gotta find a way to reach out to the really good men who are like, no, I work a job because of course I do, because I have to have work to be able to afford the wife and the kids that I want to have.
Yeah.
And I'm like, son, you can probably spare at least one day every couple of months to come out to a party and meet some very lovely ladies.
Ladies,
And maybe even there's a certain, like, you know, so my dating experience is completely non-standard. Just, I do not have the same experiences that many other women do. I got into a long-term relationship at 17, and I stayed with that person for 15 years.
Oh, wow, yeah.
So, like, mine is just, like, it's
so basically your 20s, you were, like, in a committed relationship.
I was cleaning houses and baking pies
Oh,
for
well,
my
the
beloved
opposite.
daughter, right? So I've had the opposite experience of, like, in my early 20s, I was, like, married, and then now I'm 30, and I'm not, but I have that experience to be able to be, like, you know, and being a couple with other couples and knowing how they got together.
Yeah.
And often the kind of guy who's like, yeah, I work 9 to 5, I'm exhausted, and what I really want is a wife to help take the edge off. But I don't think the kind of women who go to clubs is the sort of woman that I want, because if she's a clubber, she's not going to be the kind of person comfortable.
No, she'd be shopping on Shein every
Yeah,
week.
exactly. Right?
Spending all the money there.
Yeah, exactly. And so so there's a tiny part of me who, like, my analytical, you know, put on my glasses brain is like, I'm wondering, like, what's the strategical, you know, like, what is it? And I'm like, what I really want is, like, singles and couples, where I'm like, you know, like, you get people who are getting together, and there's some sense that this person isn't just there to club. Like, they're not just there to F around and find out.
Yeah.
They really are the kind of person who likes fun, which is a good quality in a partner, but also would like to bring their A game, like, in whatever pseudo-heteronormative arrangement might otherwise be what you're looking for as a single.
Yeah, true. I mean, you know, that's why I like the concept of, like, a +1 party, because it's like, it was not just for singles, but if you're not a single, you have to bring a single friend. Like, a single friend that you know it's decent and looking for something serious. So, I feel like
many of them.
And I'm always, like, telling my girlfriends, even though they're in relationships, like, when we go out, it's like, why you never bring one of your single guy friends? Like, where are they at? They always keep them at home. Like, can you not just motivate them to come?
The guys, I think, that are married and go out, I think they don't like the competition. They value of scarcity.
Right.
And so if they bring their single man friends with them, they might look a little silly because they might get more attention than they do.
True,
Yeah, I've seen that. Oh yeah.
It's true. I could actually imagine that. Like, you know, have a lot of single male friends, and you're like, but if I go by myself into if I make the numbers even, the hottest guy's going to get all the girls, and I'm not going to get anything.
And they actually have to work for it.
I know, right?
We're talking about dating.
We are.
We're talking about dating and the
struggle of
wild
dating.
And so during the break, there was a small conversation between me and Mary, and it was just, how do we drag you hardworking, gorgeous, introverted men out to these clubs so that you can find yourself a lovely, fiery girl who can help you with your life?
To the caramelchocolateevents,
right? Like,
we need you.
We need you specifically. Like, I was talking about, like, an ideal man for me, and, like, a little bit introverted, very hardworking, like, you know, and, like, the kind of person who knows what he wants enough so that he can be still firm enough to take it.
Yeah.
And, like, and I noticed that there is not a lot of overlap between that kind of guy and clubs or getting out there or the dating scene as a whole. And I'm like, okay, how do we lure you out? What cheese board do we need to put out? Like, you know, like, what are we dealing with? Like, or what are you guys after?
I feel like
fish
we
fry
just
or chicken stick.
we need to change the party scene to be less of a drunk hookup night and more of a grown-up socializing, networking kind of vibe.
Yeah.
And non-judgmental.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Where you like go and it's not actually about like I need to find someone. It's more about like I want to have good conversations with people. I feel like a lot of men who are like more introvert would be interested in that.
Yes.
Rather than like, oh, I go out and like every one of my friends is trying to hook up with women and I'm too shy to do that. So what am I supposed to do? I'd rather stay home.
Right.
Yeah.
Right? So maybe create like a more safe atmosphere in that sense.
Yeah. I mean, the conservatism in Wellington is quite extraordinary, I feel, compared to even Sydney.
Yeah.
It's very, very conservative here.
Yeah.
And, you know, they have those perceptions of people who go out clubbing that this is what clubbing is. And it's like, no, it's not.
No.
We're all human beings. We all need to socialise. It's not normal to live alone and isolate yourself in your home.
Yeah.
Because you've reached a certain age and everybody around you is married.
Yeah.
Like, you still got to enjoy your life.
Yeah.
You still got to continue on, you know.
Yeah.
And I think, like, it's, to me, I'm looking at it from a much older perspective because, you know, I'm just over saying how old I am. But basically I'm older.
Old enough.
And there's
old enough to ride the ride.
Yeah, and there's still, it's lean pickings.
Yeah.
Lean pickings out there. And it's almost like, but why would you be doing that?
Yeah.
That judge, you know, like you're supposed to behave a certain way when you get this.
Yeah.
I'm like, who's making these rules? Like, nobody told me this.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Like, okay, imagine an ideal relationship between like two people in their 50s, 60s, 70s, where they are both the kind of people who could comfortably go together out to a club, get some drinks, the kids are grown up, and they can have a grand old time, you know, listening to some music together, like, you know, whatever was local. Yeah. Like, getting some drinks and then going home and getting frisky. Like, that sounds like heaven to me. Like, at 50 years old, I want a man who's going to come out to me, with me to some club. We go, like, have a grand old time, do a lot of dancing, we go home, we get frisky. You know, like, that's me. That's ideal.
So how do you see breaking down those conservative barriers?
I think
that are here.
I honestly think that they're not as thick as they seem. I think that the rebuttal is to the perceived notion of a club girl or a club guy, not to what's actually there. Yeah. And I think that it's that whole, what do they call it, virtue signaling thing where they're like, well, I'm not a club person. Yeah. You know, and they identify who they are by rejecting this culture.
Yeah, I mean, someone has to make a start and put an example, and also maybe like, I mean, you don't have to call it clubbing. I feel like there's always like a little bit of a negative association with it, if you think about it. I mean, if you rephrase it, and if you find a venue and you just host events there, and it's really inclusive with every age gap, and you just see like, and you put it out there, and you see all kind of people with all different ages and colors, like having a good time. I feel like, you know, and making it a more regular thing. Like that you can like break down the barrier a little bit and see like, oh, you know, other like couples in their 50s would see that and say, oh, look at those. Right. Look at them. They're like out there like having a good time. Like, let's do this. Like, oh my God. It's always like you go, like, I feel like a lot of couples, you know, who've been together since like, I don't know, 20, 30 years, like they may be scared if they go out, they're gonna be like aliens, like only once, amongst like 18 years old.
Okay, I have an idea. So we've got this chocolate and caramel, right? What I need all you like 40, 50 plus couples to do is come in groups and bomb all these young people parties. Like show them how to dance and teach them that you don't actually have to give up your, what is it called? Liminal energy, your joie de vivre, just to get married. I honestly think that there's a certain measure of which, one of the reasons why you have these young people who are so interested in the chase but not like the catch is because they think that they have to die in order to have a partner. They're like, you know, that ball and chain, she got me, game over, man. It's like,
life's over.
You know what? If you actually think she's just gonna blow up like a balloon and that's the end of your damn life and y'all ain't never gonna have sex again, of course you're not gonna want to get married.
I don't know, but that's really old-fashioned thinking. But I feel like it's
really
in New Zealand.
I think like I like to, well, I've often been called like, people say, but you're a party girl, Leah. And I'm like, no, actually, if you actually came when I go out to these events, I'm usually sitting in the corner with a beer and a smoke, watching everybody else have a good time. Cause, you know, like I have
90% chaperone.
Yeah, 90%. Yeah, but I enjoy being in an environment when other people are enjoying themselves. So I'm kind of very relaxed in that because I'm not there looking to meet anyone. I'm there for the environment, just to be social, have
something
conversations. And people will say to me, "But you're a party girl." I said, "That's not being a party girl. That's being a human being." We need to be able to socialize at all levels of our life, and let's be realistic. We are not majorities here. We're a minority. It's even harder to meet other black men or men of similar ethnic backgrounds in New Zealand. It's harder, so it's much more. There's more women than there are men.
Yes,
absolutely.
In our communities, right? And so like I have this very evil sort of like I don't know if it's evil, but it's like when you've got you like watching like a really bad series like Love and Hip Hop Atlanta. You just there with the popcorn. I'm a little bit like that watching girls fight over guys. I'm just there with the popcorn.
Spectator sport, right?
Yeah.
Oh god.
Yeah, I'm a spectator. I will watch stuff. I mean, I was a spectator even when I was younger. It was like 3 of us aunties that would sit there going, "What the hell is going on?" And it's always exciting and games and whatnot. But I think that I think that people need to feel free. To be able to be who they are without being shamed or made to feel like they're judged, like you said.
It's a non-judgmental part. So we just need people to lead with example, like you, and just come out and show, like, look, I'm here.
I've done it before.
There's nothing wrong with it.
I dragged back in '97. I dragged the entire Somali community of women out in hijabs and whatnot to a party in Cuba Street, and it caused so much furore.
Really?
That woman from Lower Hutt came in to check it out and see what they were up to. And I haven't seen anything like that since the '80s, when people that I worked with at a hospital, all these Tongan women that I worked with, were never going out. They didn't go to the pubs or clubs.
No.
You only see their husbands.
You're not supposed to.
Yeah, you're not supposed to, right?
But
and
they want to.
I take their stories back. Oh yeah, your partner was in there on the weekend doing this, Next minute, they're all coming in. They want to see what's going on.
What their men are up to.
Yeah, so I mean, I think it would be
I
really
know
good if the wives come
they
out.
would love to, because it's part of the culture. We all have it inside of us. So it's not going away.
So I have this thing which I've seen within the younger community. I think that there's, or I've experienced that a lot of people are convinced they have to settle way too quickly. And I think that one of the things that kind of happens is that the concept that you would find somebody who's so damn fly, who loves you so much, that you would want to take her to a club just to show everybody she's yours, that was a part of the black community, especially the disco scene, way back in the day. But it's just, that concept is gone.
That doesn't exist
right?
anymore.
It's gone. And I'm like, there's a part of me that's like, I implore you, women and men, not to find somebody who you wouldn't personally trust enough that you could take them down to a room full of men and be like, I am the best man here, she chose me, and this relationship is solid. Like, I implore you to find a relationship so full of attraction. And you didn't get with her because you got drunk and you made an awkward pass and she kind of said no, you really you had this clear in your head who you wanted and what you wanted and why you wanted her. You went after it clearly, and then you established a solid bond that you could take to a club, almost as if it's like a litmus test for where your relationship's at right now.
It takes a self-confident man, though. I feel like nowadays they're not confident enough. They're too scared. If I take her to the club, other guys will hit on her, like she might run off with someone.
Oh, young men today are incredibly shy. Whilst they're throwing themselves at anything, and they don't know what they're doing. They're it's just like grab I don't want to quote
Whatever you
Trump.
get.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean?
No, it is, and I think that I honestly think that the shy ones are even more confident than the ones who are throwing themselves. Because if they're throwing themselves, they literally don't think that they can reserve themselves for what is specifically what they want.
Yeah.
And it's even to the extent where I don't think they necessarily even know.
Yeah.
Like, am I a fetish to you, or do you actually just really like the way that I look? Like, you know, like, are we as black women?
Are they even mature enough to figure out the
Yeah, and
difference
are you
between
mature enough to know the difference?
Yeah.
Like, and then that's like, I have like a slightly different angle because I was like basically married for like the first half of my life, and I sort of know what it feels like to be in a long-term committed relationship. Like, we picked each other at 17. We made it work, but we did pick each other at 17. So when it fell apart for very sensible reasons, and we were both forced to be like, well, okay, we don't want it to, but this is not reasonable. And so now I'm back on the market with like 15 years of being married under my belt, being like, I'm not spending 15 years with you. No, go away from me. You wouldn't know how to change a diaper. Bye. Like, have you ever done a day of laundry in your life? Shoot.
Yeah.
You know what you want. That's the problem
Yeah.
now. Like,
Yeah.
you don't settle for anything less.
Yeah,
So
and I
it's
think
hard.
there's probably a fair amount of settling that goes on.
Yes.
Goes on in smaller communities and environments because it's just that whole scarcity thing.
Yeah.
And so people are just grabbing.
Yeah, and
You know?
and I think the thing is, an event like this is event like the ones that you throw are really good because you need to experiment, you need to try, but you need a broad range of things to know what not to settle for.
Exactly.
You need to go and see what's available, and then you need to feel confident that you picked the best for you, not even for everybody. I think there's this also this illusion of competition that the woman that's out there that you'd be into is the one that everyone else would want, and that's not necessarily even the case.
Not really. Yeah.
Like, what I find attractive in a man is not really like the typical. I do not I like men who are shaped like obelisks. You know.
Okay, we have a different type.
I haven't obelisks. I do like those big, tall, square men.
Okay.
Like the one man who I left in the States. It was the one time in my life where I was like, oh my god, I've never had one night stand before, but I would do it for you. Was a man who was just like, he was 6'5", I think.
Okay.
And he was Irish, and he was just like, I was looking up at like Mount Rushmore. I was like, what is going on? There's like so much human being. I'm 6'3", and he just scooped me up in one hand.
Oh.
For me,
alright.
as I'm not petite, I'm not tiny.
Yeah, that's sexy.
That was the most amazing experience I've ever had. But for him, he's so used to women being scared of him.
Oh, because it was so tall.
Because he's so tall and big and strong, right?
Mm.
So it was a match made really well. And so both of us are like, oh, I've never met anybody like you before, right? Like, and it's very rare. So I didn't know that till I got out.
Yeah.
I got out
So
there.
we all need to get out more.
Yeah.
We're coming up to
That's
the end of the hour.
Yeah.
So I'd just like to thank you very much
Oh,
for coming
yes.
in. And
So nice
for
chatting
actually
with you,
addressing one of the biggest issues going down in Wellington City right now, probably across the country.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
probably a nationwide thing for
It's a
people
crisis.
in-
It's a
Nationwide singles crisis.
a singles crisis.
I would like to address the nationwide singles crisis.
Yeah. We have to solve it somehow.
Yeah.
We're on it.
We'll definitely have you back sometime with
Oh,
your
great.
partner and
Exactly.
yeah. Peace.
Peace.